My name is Jason Botkin. I'm an artist based out of Montreal, Canada. I started my official art studies in Alberta at the Alberta College of Art and Design. That was between the years 92 and 96 roughly, and graduated with as a major in drawing. After I left school, I gave up art for a long time, many years, and then it wasn't until I moved to Montreal where I realized I wanted to continue with my practice. In the year 2000, I had a couple of solo exhibitions, and that was my first real introduction to people who were making street art. For this exhibition, I'm using a series of cutout characters that are created out of thin sheets of plywood, very lightly drawing some loose image on the plywood. Then I usually paint it black as a technique, where I begin with my technique, and then I take the shape, create some image out of it. So usually the shape tells me what that image is going to be. All these features, these limbs and pieces that can be moved constantly. Part of the reason for doing that was because I created most of the work in Montreal, and I needed to bring all of that stuff with me on an airplane to Paris in a way that I can occupy quite a bit of space as an installation, but at the same time I could get it on an airplane without it weighing 1,000 pounds. So it was a practical issue. So there will be three parts to the exhibition. We have these cutout characters like marionettes on the wall. We have these round paintings which are more traditional in the sense of being painted on a kind of a conventional format. And then there's an interactive part which I'm making today, which is kind of like a Mr. Potato Head formula, where people can come into the gallery and interact with the work directly. So they can take pieces of it off and put new pieces on and create different combinations, like in the Mr. Potato Head game. When I'm working in the street, or especially when I'm painting murals, it's very different. You know, street art or mural work, this is not work that hasn't existed already in a gallery for the last 200 years. The power of that type of work, though, is to take it outside of the gallery and recontextualize it. It gives it the power of public art, which is really an important tool, I think, right now in the world in terms of addressing some crucial issues. I think the power of street art is taking work that perhaps came from a gallery or some sort of academic setting and then is put into the street. I think this type of work has the ability to really deeply impact people's lives, even when they don't understand the work. Street art is really interesting, though, too, in another sense, and I think in a very anarchistic sense, in that, yes, it's done without permission, but it's also done without pay. And sometimes you'll have this situation where you're putting something up in the street and someone approaches you and says, "Hey, I'll give you $50 for that." And you say, "Well, no, you know, like, it's worth more than that." And they're like, "Well, isn't $50 better than nothing?" And you say, "Well, if I put this in a gallery tomorrow, this is $2,000. So it's not better." And I think that opens up a very important series of questions, which is talking about why artists do that, why they put work in the street, why they would do so and not getting paid. And I think a lot of people in the street art community, they use street art as a way to promote their work. It doesn't always have content, and it doesn't always address important issues, and that's unfortunate. Sometimes it's the same thing as Coca-Cola trying to sell you more Coke. You're gonna have street artists selling you more of their shit. If you want to become good in your business, you let people know what you're doing. I think street art, in its best, does contain a message. It does contain some sort of content that is important to people, beyond just entertainment value and beyond simply saying, "Here's my name and I'm going to piss it all over the place so that you don't forget me." And that's an ego issue. I had to look at my practice and understand why I was doing what I was doing. When you put art in a community, you stimulate collective affiliation. But this collective affiliation is important because it can begin to really change communities, and especially when you have a message. Much of my work in the past couple of years has been in the direction of the Passez-le Foundation. Passez-le is responsible for the Seawalls nomadic mural festival that travels internationally, raising public attention to ocean issues, environmental issues concerning water. So much of my work is about the environment, where people talk about what's there. Maybe they don't like it, maybe they do like it, but they're talking about something that's there, and they're talking about something very creative. They're talking about art. It's not something they put on their head or they can wear when it's cold. It's not something they can eat. They can't drink it. It's something very abstract. We can bridge a gap, create better communication, and create a better place in our community, in our world, for us to live and experience life. And I think that is the purpose of all great art.